think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Hello.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 Eat the cat.
What's good, everybody? AB Media 83 here. Today, we're going to be talking about the debate aftermath. And, oh boy, there was an aftermath. Y'all just saw it for yourselves.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating.
Like I said, the aftermath is off the chain. Those are only the clips I gathered. There are even more out there that are even more hilarious. But those are clips I just gathered. But yeah, it was a heck of a debate, and a lot of consequences because of the debate. We found out some things about one of the moderators, and turns out Trump wasn't lying about people eating dogs and cats in Ohio. If you look in the description, I'm not going to show that video. They arrested a lady because they found her in Ohio because they found her eating cat remains, and she looked absolutely deranged. But yeah, plus there's tons and tons of stories of illegal migrants running around doing crazy stuff. And what's the problem in this country? Whether the Democrats want to know it or not, it is what it is. What's going on, Leon? But let me put my present up here. We're going to kind of recap the debate a little bit. No, that's not the one I want. Yeah, that's the one I want. Full debate. We're going to kind of recap the debate here, and there's some stuff that needs to be pointed out. And we're going to increase the speed a little bit here. This is, yeah, that's good.
Debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July.
Now, one of the stories that's come out, just a minute, one of the stories that has come out about the debate is, see this lady on the right here. Well, it turns out that she's one of Kamala's AKA's sisters. Yes, you heard that right. She's one of Kamala's AKA sisters. No wonder Kamala was so confident. Oh, really? Yeah. But yeah, she's an AKA. So Kamala had a handicap, turns out, during the debate. And that's one of the reasons why she was a little bit more confident. I hate to break this to Butthurt Blue, but you do know that's a sign of weakness, right? You do know that's a sign of weakness, right? I know you want I know y'all run around saying, "Oh, Trump got whooped," but y'all do know that's a sign of weakness, right? Right. But hey, what did I know? According to them, I'm just a Trump supporter, so take that however you want to take it. But if you ask me, whoa. It's a sign of weakness, whether you like it or not. What's going on, AL? And let me say it again for the Negroes. They couldn't hear me in the back. Y'all do know Kamala having that AKA up there as a moderator is a sign of weakness, right? Right. Just saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, back to the scheduled program. We're gonna go through this debate piece by piece. Might skip a few spaces. I don't want to be here all night, but y'all want to come up, you can do so now. So let's get it rolling.
21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the
bullshit. Bullshit.
clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
Also bullshit. Also bullshit. What's going on, AL?
Say, man, you see that babysitter, the AKA babysitter she hired to help coax her through this with softball questions and defending type, commentary? Sad. What did I tell BGS earlier? That's a menstrual tampon babysitter.
Yeah, it's her babysitter. No wonder she was so confident. But let's
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening,
which was a mistake, but
Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate. Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say
it's a fake ass smile, but okay.
is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off?
Turn it up a little bit, AB.
Hell no. But go ahead. What are you going to say? Okay.
Years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on the stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people.
Yeah, it more than doubled since you and Joe been in office. You ever think about that? You ever think about that? Oh. Yeah, it's doubled since you and Joe been in office. You ever think about that, Kamala?
We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those
Yeah, you copied that plan by from J.D. Vance. You know, Donald Trump's vice president.
young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses.
But nobody want to talk about is that's if the small business is profitable. Profitable. A lot of small businesses are not profitable, and they wouldn't even qualify for what Kamala Harris is talking about. Something to think about. Let me say that again for the Negroes that couldn't hear me in the back. What she's talking about right there, a lot of small businesses don't qualify for because they're not profitable. They don't have $50,000 in net gain. So majority of small business don't even qualify for what she's talking about.
Knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations.
And the middle class, but you want to leave that part out.
Which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than.
Yeah, you can shake your head, but you and Biden created the highest inflation we've had in over 40 years. So you can sit there and shake your head all you want, but he's telling the truth.
A few years ago, this has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of.
Now, I know some of y'all listen but her blue. So are you going to go to these people and tell them that, oh, there's no problem with immigration. You vote for Kamala. There's no problem in immigration. You going to tell them that? You're gonna tell these people who are getting ran out of their apartments there's nothing wrong with immigration? You're gonna tell them that with a straight face? Just asking the question.
Criminality and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Donald Trump left y'all low grocery prices while you talking shit. Donald Trump left you low gas prices while you talking shit. What you do with that? You found ways to raise it with your foreign and domestic policy.
Employment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our.
Yeah, Donald Trump ain't perfect. He shouldn't have trusted Fauci. And Fauci still, if I'm not mistaken, Fauci's still part of the health administration, and they need to fire him.
Democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done.
Yeah, no, for the most part, you've cleaned up Fauci's mess, but
and what I
it is Donald Trump's fault that he trusted Fauci. So, it is what
intend
it
to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances.
Yeah, from you. She's right about that. You're going to hear from the same old tired playbook. A bunch of lies and bullshit that's coming out of her mouth. She's absolutely right about that.
And name calling. What you're
she's absolutely right about that.
going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025.
Oh, you mean the Project 2025 that you mentioned more than 3 times in your so-called policy website? Think of mine that you can go look in the chat. She mentions she has multiple sections on Project 2025. But you're talking about Donald Trump's plan is Project 2025. Okay.
That the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess.
By the way, I got 17 watching. Like, share, subscribe, hit the Cash App, support the show. Hit the Super Chat, support the show.
Some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic.
Oh, by the way, Trump just came out with a new tax plan. He wants to cut people paying taxes on overtime. Something to think about.
Was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when
you shouldn't talk about yourself like that, but
you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I just.
So not taxing people on tips and not taxing people on overtime is for rich people. Okay. Why don't you agree with it? I'm just asking, why don't you agree with it?
Describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually...
I would argue we're in the recession now, but y'all like to play the smoke and mirrors and shit, so.
has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Oh, you mean defending the sham of trials that you keep throwing on him? Okay.
It's a soundbite. I gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher?
What's going on, Snowman?
How are you, my friend?
No, doing all right.
So this is the debate aftermath. Huh?
Yeah.
You know what I was doing when the debate was going on?
Sleeping?
Calling a baseball game.
Oh, okay.
I was calling the Houston Astros game, which went 12 innings. And even that got finished.
Did we win?
No, they lost 4-3 to Oakland. They won.
Damn it. I'm over here busy watching Southwest Texas State taking on Arizona State right now, and it's a barn burner.
What Hall of Fame guard called Southwest Texas State home?
I have no idea.
You got me?
Maurice Cheeks.
Oh.
Who, Maurice Cheeks? No, he played West Texas State. No, sir.
You're right. It's West Texas State.
All right.
You're right. AL is right. I was wrong. And now my beauty is laughing at me because I messed that up. So does Kamala actually have a policy?
No, we could take a look at that later, though.
Okay.
Actually, believe it or not, she did put some policies on her website. The page is called Issues.
Okay.
No.
Where'd she copy them from?
Hold up, AD. I want you to ask Snowman how he feels about Kamala having a ringer there to help her out, a babysitter, a sorrow babysitter.
Oh yeah. If you haven't heard, Snowman, the female moderator, I forget her name, but the female moderator, turns out she's an AKA.
Oh, Jesus.
I haven't seen that, Romney. We could take a look at that later.
She's a what?
She's an AKA. In other words, Kamala had a handicap. No wonder she was so confident. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Mr. BGS, please say it.
Now that is some
bullshit.
You have gotten to know me, and
we haven't got it to yet, but the memes are off the chain from this debate.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating.
I couldn't help it, man. That shit is
You know
so
what?
funny.
And I love that. I love every single one of them. AB, I have a favor to ask.
Yeah.
Can the snowman tax be in effect tonight?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
But yeah, let's get back to this debate.
All right.
Prices because of tariffs.
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars.
Yes. The tariffs that Donald Trump put in, Joe Biden didn't take out. So it must have been good policy.
It was hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there because the
No
Biden
lies
administration
to be
did keep
found.
a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out. When a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology.
Oh, you mean Europe that keeps on hogging money from the U.S. to prop up NATO? Who keeps on robbing the U.S. to prop up NATO? To prop up NATO? You mean those allies? Where we're subject to the crown? You mean those allies?
Some allies.
So that we win the race.
You mean Zelensky? Although I kind of feel bad for him because I'm hearing reports that they force him to do this shit. It means Zelensky keeps coming over to the U.S. to beg for money, beg for our tax money.
Yep.
AI on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, ! When we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
Did you ever think that he was being sarcastic? Dumbass.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought the chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has.
Actually, in defense of Trump, there's a good reason why we don't make chips. There's a good reason why we don't make chips because it's too toxic. Be careful what you ask for, but okay.
There's no policy. Everything that she believes.
All y'all that are worried about climate change, one of the reasons we don't make chips here is because it'll ruin the environment.
3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics. And he taught.
Actually, that's true. That is true. Her father is a black Marxist.
Her well. But when you look at what
and look at her giggling, like he's fucking me up right now.
She's done to our country, and when you look at these,
look at her body language.
Thank you, AB.
Millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say. And
How can I? He's fucking me up right now. How can how can I bounce back?
I think it's a lot higher than 21. It's bigger than New York State, Florida. Just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals, and that's bad for.
Damn, he's look at him look down. He's fucking me up right now.
Our economy too. You know, you mentioned
What
before.
the fuck? What am I supposed to
Talk
do?
about immigration later. Well, immigration is the
Now, I am not now for the record, because I know Butthurt Blues listening. I am not confirming. I'm not confirming this rumor, but look at her earring. There's a rumor that earring is actually a microphone, and they received her. Now, for the record, I am not confirming that. So I don't want to hear any shit about I'm misinforming people. We don't know, but the rumor is that she had an earpiece. That's actually the earpiece.
worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has destroyed our country with policy that's insane.
Close.
Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump. Thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue
It does look like an earpiece.
of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to
Can
kill.
you zoom in on that so I can take a look, AB?
No, because it's a video. I would have to clip it and zoom in on it. But
because I'm a technology expert, being in broadcasting for as long as I have.
It does look like a piece of technology, though. I have to admit, from this angle. But anyway, for those of you who that live on a rock, this right here is an AKA asking this question to Donald Trump.
Oh boy.
Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before. He said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the.
Now, from what I've heard, you know, Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's vice president, Tampon Tim. Apparently, in his state,
you mean Kamala Harris's desperate pick?
Yeah. Oh well, I'm sorry. Her what did BGS call her? Her comfort bear. Yeah.
Leon, what's going on, bro?
None, man. I just had a bad day. Just shit. My dryer went out last night, so I went and took the fuse and the clicker out. Yeah, I took the fuse and the clicker out from the back and the front, and then my meter wasn't working right, so I just took both of them out and got them replaced. I did it. It just took some time. Then I dropped like 3 screws on the side, so I had to take out the whole front just to get the screws. Stuff like that. Nothing too serious.
Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah,
but it's good.
And
that you
every time I took my eyes off my son, he ended up taking a Pepsi, water, throwing it in his toys. So I got to clean all that up. Or I'm just gonna throw it in the dishwasher, his toys in the dishwasher, and call it a day.
Listen, boys will be boys. I've done that shit.
Yep.
I got my ass kicked.
But
let me say it. Let me say
I wanted
this
to
out
pitch.
loud.
Oh my bad.
Let me say this out loud for the people that think I didn't do anything wrong growing up. I used to do the same thing that Leon just described. Take Pepsi, take Coke, and drop it in the toys. I got my ass kicked by my father.
Of course.
Yeah, I smacked his hands. But I wanted to touch on one little thing real quick. So when we look at what happened with those tariffs, my question is this. I bought a C2 Vizio, the gaming TV. I bought a few other things, and all electronic prices were down for the last 5 years. So in a way, those tariffs did work, but they're off balancing for the price of food. You know what I'm saying? So you can go out and buy right about any electronic for a quarter to 30% of the price it used to be.
But you're sacrificing for the price of food for the technology that you're buying. I've noticed that too.
Yeah.
I've noticed
so,
that
but
too.
my question is that because of the tariffs, or is that just an overabundance of electronics that is that a necessity?
I'm not sure. I have to look that up. I don't have an answer right now.
The states and through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Apparently in Minnesota, the place where Governor Tim Walz is, if they do an abortion and the baby's born live, they'll still kill it.
The fuck?
Yeah.
What the actual fuck?
We were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did all.
You hear that? He believes in the exceptions: rape, incest, and the life of the mother.
Also, 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on.
How? Look at her face. How am I going to get this motherfucker? How am I going to get this motherfucker
on it? And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar.
Look at her. Damn, he's right.
Every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual.
It should be noted, Ohio and Kansas are red states.
Dual state.
And they voted the other way.
Is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Bullshit.
Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually.
Yeah, she's about to tell a big one.
Let me say something about that real quick. I had to ask one of the doctors I know. So let's say a woman is, let's say she's full of fibroids, or she's bleeding out, right? And she's pregnant. And she has the choice to elect to kill the baby or them save the baby and she dies. So it's this situation where the baby's at 9 months, right? But it's in a state that, you don't have abortion rights. So she's sitting there bleeding out, but you don't want to do anything because of the law, because it could kill her. But at 9 months, it's like, okay, give her a C-section. And 99% of people that want a kid want a baby. They don't want these 10-year-olds in, foster care.
Right.
So either way, if you're 9 months pregnant, you already have the stretch marks, you already have all that. The baby has to come out one way or another. Even with a pill, they still have to cut it out because of the size of the baby. So it's one of the things. It's like, okay, is she gonna bleed out, or y'all gonna get the baby, which is dead, and it's alive and it's gonna kill her? Which are y'all gonna pick?
Right. Okay.
If I'm picking, like, my logic to it is, hey, you don't have no sisters or brothers. Do you want your bloodline to live on? Or do you just want to end it with you experiencing life for the next 30 years without no kids? Pick one. Kind of, sort of.
Snowman Sports Update, 9:27 left in the third quarter. It's the Bills 31 and the Miami Dolphins 10.
How did the Colts do last week? I didn't get a chance to look.
Lost by a pair, 29-27.
Damn.
Houston jumped us early, but the Colts made it. I'll say this for AR5 and the Colts, they made it real competitive. Now as a young team, and I think it's going to take them a year to do so. They have to finish. They go to Green Bay on Saturday, and I'm flipping a coin on whether to do that one live or do the 49ers and the Vikings. I might do the 49ers.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade.
Live fact check. They did not make Roe v. Wade illegal. They left it up to the states. That is a lie.
They did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it...
Oh, wait. I got something for y'all to Google. I think I was the only person that noticed. But look up when Clarence Thomas' birthday is and look up what day abortion ended when they brought it back to this. He did it on his birthday.
Oh.
He did it on his damn birthday, bro.
Wow.
Criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide.
And those are not Trump abortion bans. Those are Republican abortion bans.
Health care in one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor
Trump's like, huh? Hold on, wait a minute.
of a
Trump's like, what the fuck did I do?
Body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
So is that why? That's why it's a bad thing he he sent it right back to the states instead of having the federal government implement the policy. Something to think about.
Have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because their healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She
They were doing that before
Her
this
husband didn't
became
want
an
that.
issue, you dumb
A
bitch.
12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest.
Listen.
Okay, hold on, wait a minute. Now, those stories are tragic. Have any of y'all heard about the hanger abortions they were doing before Roe v. Wade was passed?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to think about how they would take a hanger and
Yeah, most of that's mythical, but it's true at the same time that women took hangers and stuck them up there to pull babies out, pretty much. And then what happens is the baby's arm breaks off in the body, and let's say it's like 4 months.
Oh gosh, okay.
No, just listen, check it out. The baby's arm breaks off in the mother, and they pull the fetus out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that arm will keep on growing. Let's keep on going, guys. Sorry.
You talking about again? Listen, Kamala, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about because you're talking to a guy that almost lost his baby. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to a guy that almost lost his baby.
I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade,
so you want more government intervening over?
She wants anarchy.
Yep.
President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand.
Another lie. When did he say he would sign a national abortion ban? And another thing, this, believe it or not, this I keep pointing this out. This was decided during the Republican primary, because if I'm not mistaken, our former governor Mike Pence, who Republicans here don't like either, ran on a national abortion ban. What happened to him during the primaries?
He got his ass kicked.
Oh, right, in a Republican primary, not a national primary, a Republican primary.
He got his ass kicked in a Republican primary.
And if I'm not mistaken, he didn't even make it to Iowa. Oops.
He didn't.
And his project
He got
2025,
he got
there would be a
trounced.
national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
So why are you trying to put abortion in the hands of the government again if it shouldn't be made by the government?
You big
And
dummy.
the government already knows about the abortion numbers or the miscarriage numbers, and it's already calculated. Like the doctors go over if you had miscarriages before, or if you're high risk, or you have certain elements like high blood pressure or anything else.
As I said, you big dummy.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
Well, I
came to your
won't
desk?
have to because again,
Didn't he
it's
say
two things.
he
Number one,
did say
since
it
you
was
go back to
taken over
Congress, you'll
by
never
the
get the
states,
vote.
right?
It's impossible for her to get the vote.
I want to be sure I
Especially
heard.
now with the 50-50.
I'm not a
essentially 50-50
political
in both.
buff, but I want to be sure I heard that correctly. He did say it was taken over by the states, correct?
That is correct.
That is all I need to know. I am not the most political person on this panel, but God damn it, I know what I heard.
She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk.
What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's like what my perception of like this whole debate. This is kind of like what I was thinking. Maybe I didn't articulate it the best way, but what I was thinking about this like whole debate, well, from the parts that I did see was that he was getting interrupted a lot, and it kind of seemed that like yeah, it was definitely like a 3-on-1 kind of thing.
Yeah, we went over that. The lady moderator is an AKA.
Yeah.
Which should tell you everything you need. Which should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of days, I was hearing that.
Yeah. Let's continue.
Hey, B, did you notice what I said for the last 2 years about the Senate and House of Representatives pretty much being 50-50? So there's no way that Project 25 or anything crazy will pass anyway.
Yeah,
I've been saying that for so fucking long.
We'll talk about that a little bit later because,
Get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. in all fairness. J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you...
In other words, she absolutely support big government putting their nose back in the business of abortion again.
In other words, she lied again.
Nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments.
That's
What
all
is
I gotta
happening
say.
in our country?
She lied
Working
again.
people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through.
Oh, she's lying about the IV treatment too. The judge that the Republican judges that try to squash that got overwritten by the Republican government that ran that state. Oops.
Whoops.
Is unconscious.
Oh, and by the way, if I'm not mistaken, and this is one time I will shut out Mike Pence. If I'm not mistaken, they had to use IV so they could have children. So
that would be correct.
So
What?
this is not something Republicans are going to they're going to Hill the Republicans are going to die on. I don't see it.
And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President,
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the.
Okay, go back a bit.
Yeah, go back a bit because I want to get a clear shot of what she's of what she has in her ear. I want to get a clear shot. I'm looking at this from a distance, but
somebody in chat said it was an earbud.
That's exactly what I believe it is. I will not confirm or deny it, but being an expert in broadcasting for 29 years, I believe that's an earbud.
If she did have an earbud in her ear, like, what are you implying?
She got fed information.
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And
just taking another look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is
about working men who have
and
been
the people
disabled.
of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in.
You know,
I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else.
Go ahead.
So they want the price of IVF to go down, okay? And they want taxpayers to pay part of the cost for women that want to wait until they're 40 to try to have babies. Because it costs like $50,000 and it's not guaranteed. And you have to, we heard old girl talk about her IVF treatments, poking herself in the stomach, doing all that to make sure her ovaries moisturized.
You mean the textbook definition of arrested bitch face?
Yeah. So they're trying to incentivize women to have babies at any age. So they're gonna. That's what this conversation is really about.
Yeah, and for the record, Ebony K. Williams, my age. I said what I said. I say it to her face.
Yeah. But this is the thing. This is the thing. Why are they talking about IVF when it's already legal everywhere? They're trying to have it covered by the government to pay some of the cost of IVF.
Of course they are.
Well, just to like piggyback off of what Leon said, like what I heard Trump saying was that not that like he was advocating for like the chicks that like want to do the like I don't need no man shit, but like he was specifically talking about like the chicks that like you know, they're older or whatever, like they might have had like complications with trying to have children, why he supports IVF.
Yeah. Let's continue.
On fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question.
you
Would you
could,
veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June,
By the way, I got 25 watching it. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the Cash App, support the show. Hit the Super Chat, support the show. Snowman tax in effect, too.
President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United
You
States
also
Congress,
prosecuted
including some of the
men
most
that didn't
conservative
deserve
members of the
it,
United
you
States
bitch.
Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you.
Oh, but Democrats will? Okay.
Deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that
Vice President. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Put us first or migrants first? Which one is it?
Good
Which
call.
one is it?
Good call.
So AB, how we gonna do this? We going through the whole debate, or we leave a commentary in between? We gonna wait to the end, or how we gonna do this?
Going through the whole debate, pretty much.
Let's
And
do
we gonna wait
is
to the end of the comment, or in between?
In between, because we did the live coverage when the debate happened. So this is
which was Tuesday night.
Yeah, which is just me. This is just me pausing it and going through it again.
Yeah, Tuesday night was the live coverage. I popped in for
I seen y'all live, but I didn't join because I wanted to kind of listen to it without any, opinions, kind of coloring my own.
Yeah,
views.
that's what we pretty much did. That's why we're getting. And Andre, I know you're here. That's why we're getting on you, man. We were watching it live. We wanted to get through it. We didn't want to, we didn't want to pause. Pause. We wanted to hear everything first.
Yeah, that's understandable. I figured that's what the case was.
So I say this, from what I've seen, because I watched it live. I think Trump did an okay job. I think he did miss up opportunities.
Yeah.
I think Kamala did better than most people thought.
Yeah.
She also did an okay job. The thing that surprised me the most about her, and I guess the Democratic Party in general, is that the Democrats and Kamala have been on the attack, and Trump has been kind of on the defensive. I mean, that's to me, that's kind of like reverse order what you would see with the Democrats and Republicans. Usually it's the other way around. But what I will say is Trump had the best line of the night when he said that she's taking so many of his policies that she should wear a MAGA hat. That shit was hilarious.
Pow.
Let's continue.
Like, and Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's busing them in and paying them to be there. And then
Yep.
A swing and a smash. Base hit to left.
showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rally.
Look at her face, though. Like, damn it.
Damn, he got me again. It says, damn, he got me again.
We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
Now, to be fair, to be perfectly fair, it wasn't as bad as Biden, though. Because Biden,
Oh, dear God.
He was like, wait, where am I? What is he talking about?
Well,
He was actually he was falling asleep.
Well, AB, like the biggest part
Did
of
you?
this debate the biggest part of this debate that bothered me was that like she was sitting there making faces and like she's looking at him and Trump was like completely ignoring her. But like every time he spoke, she was making faces and doing all this goofy shit, and I'm like, that was pissing me off. I'm just like, what the hell, man?
Well, she's mocking Trump basically. She's mocking him, and she's kind of being the condescending towards him, which is, I mean, like so like some of the stuff that, so it's kind of funny, right? Some of the stuff that Trump does that annoys people, his base likes, and some of the shit that people that don't like Kamala does that annoys people actually plays well to her base. Like the whole mocking the old white man thing. I mean, the female base is loving that. You know, the black sister girl base is loving that. So yeah, it's real interesting. My thing with Trump was that he could have attacked her on certain points a lot more than he did. But I feel like they kind of I felt like they kind of put him in a box in a way, because even before the debate they was talking about, oh, Trump's gonna like name call and stuff like this, and so it seems like Trump almost made a case not to, you know, do the whole name calling offensive thing, right? Like Trump wasn't as, he was still funny and humorous, but he didn't attack her like he attacked Jeb Bush, you know, 4+ years ago.
We were talking with Black Uru about that, and Black Uru was kind of upset that, you know, Trump didn't attack her more. But we was kind of trying to point out to Black Uru, like, look, especially now that we know that chick is an AKA. Oh, speaking of which,
Uh-oh.
What's going on, sir?
The Thunderer is here.
Like since you brought that up, like wouldn't that normally be considered a conflict of interest if like one of the people that was there moderating was part of her sorority?
Yes.
Normally, wouldn't that be considered?
I think that's bullshit. I mean, do we know whether or not Brent Hume, for example, and George Bush were in Skull and Bones together at Yale? I mean, this is the first time that kind of thing has ever come up. Do we really think that in prior presidential debates there weren't, you know, reporters in the same, you know, fraternity that, you know, candidates were in? From Harvard or Yale or these fucking places. I mean, of course these people have associations across the lines. Now, obviously a big deal was made out of it, but that was largely a black people thing, making a big deal out of the whole Divine Nine thing. It has some particular resonance amongst black people. But I mean, there's no way in the world that's the first time there's been any overlap of any sort of fraternal or similar sort of associations between candidates and debate people, or you know.
I would disagree with you on that, and I'll post a link in the back chat, because like I was like watching like different white people talking about this stuff, and they mentioned the exact same thing. This is like actually how I found out about it.
When you look at the business schools, the
Okay,
Harvards,
let me
the
repeat what
major universities, these people are all interconnected. They
they're
all touch
all
elbows.
interconnected. All these people went to
Now,
school together, was the same frat houses together, and all that shit.
yes. Now the major issue is that you take someone straight from your clan, AKA, that has the same interests that you have.
Yeah.
It's too close. You know,
But
that's
again,
everyone's issue.
this is the first time this has ever even come up. We don't know if, like I said, Brent Hume and George W. Bush Jr. were in the same fraternity. We don't know
Yeah.
that.
Like Uru. I'll put it like this. White privilege, baby.
Exactly. So I mean, I get the point that you guys are making. Like I say, the whole Divine Nine thing has a sort of special place, particular amongst Black people. But I'm going to evaluate the performance in light of this so-called alleged relationship. Now, if they had been college roommates or were in the same dorm or in the same sorority house or something like that, I might look at it during the same time. I might look at it a little bit differently. But Kamala being at Howard University and this woman being at Berkeley or wherever the hell she went to school. I don't know if that's necessarily fair to mark as a disqualifier.
Let's continue.
That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our...
Unfortunately, this is one time I honestly do wish Trump was lying. I wish that what he just said was just a flat out lie.
Unfortunately, it's not.
But unfortunately, it's not. We're on the brink of World War III. The mess in Ukraine with Russia. Remember, Russia's allied to China, India, the BRICS, the conflict in the Gaza Strip. Remember, Iran is friends with Russia, China, and India. And if I'm not mistaken, Russia was going to send some weapons down to Iran. So, unfortunately,
well, I mean, there won't be. If there's World War III, we're all dead. Let's be real. I mean, they're on this planet right now somewhere in excess of 20,000 nukes. So, I mean, we're all gone. So that's not going to happen. Now, is it going to be increased conventional sort of activity? Possibly, definitely higher trade warring going on. And I think that's going to happen regardless of who's in office. So it's really just a matter of who presumably can more skillfully manage that. Obviously, the strengthening of the BRICS is going to be ever looming nemesis to the United States. But World War III, that's hyperbole, man. We're all dead in World War III. Nobody wants that.
Our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. Not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating.
He's cooking.
He is really cooking.
I'm sorry. I got to do it.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 Eat the cat.
The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
You ain't sure for the same me.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating.
I gotta be for real. I never bought duck from the store. I'm just gonna keep it honest. I never bought duck from the store. I called my grandma after I chopped off one's neck. I did snatch it up from the park. Okay, I admit it.
I've seen them.
I mean, when has it been? When could you not eat a duck? I'm trying to figure that part out.
No, like
Hold on, wait a minute. I've seen them sold in Myers. I have seen ducks. I have
I've
seen
seen it too.
frozen ducks sold before, so that's not
Yeah.
unusual.
All I'm saying is I never bought a duck. I've gone to the park and got me a duck.
Well, I think a lot of this confusion is happening because like there's this argument between like whether they were eating fucking geese or ducks, and like people want to say ducks, but like I've seen videos where they're saying like they were specifically eating Canadian geese or geese that's from the U.S., but they're eating geese, not ducks. They're not the same type of animal.
Yeah, people getting confused, but let's see. I got 39 watching. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the Cash App. Support the show. Hit the Super Chat. Support the show. What's going on, Smitty? But I played a clip on my channel, but if you look at the description, I got a description of a lady got arrested because she got caught eating a cat in Ohio, black lady.
Damn. Just
and she
mean,
looks and
damn.
And you could tell by the she's out of it. So I'm not showing that on my channel. Then they said they had.
Here's my question about this eating the pets thing. So what are they like barbecuing the animals in the park or something, man? I mean,
yes, sir.
Well, Black Guru, like what I've been seeing is that it's worse than that. Like according to some people that made videos about this, they're saying that apparently they were like eating these animals like raw, just cutting the heads off or biting the heads off. Like they were doing some wild shit.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna have to
it's non-civilized.
I'm gonna have to get a little more reporting on that because I mean that's kind of. I you know, to mention that during a presidential debate, I just think there should be like some real
Black Guru. It's just people saying they're not civilized, man. They're trying to say.
I know it's like it's kind of dog whistling. You know, the evil savages are rampaging. You know, I don't know if I received what Trump presented there. And then if I recall, and maybe you'll kind of present it in the video here, because towards the end, he kind of backed off of it. You know, he kind of said, well, you know, that's been what's been reported to suggest that, well, I'm only saying what I heard. And he kind of was attempting to kind of disclaim responsibility for what he had presented there. And I just, if you're going to present that kind of thing, man, that shit should be confirmed. You know, if you're a presidential candidate, you know, during a presidential debate, that shouldn't be something you just casually kind of throw out there.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is like people want to focus on the fact that he was talking about like the Springfield, Ohio thing, but he was also talking about like the Venezuelans as well, right? Like he was basically talking about like immigration in general and how that is like
look, there are lots of very real substantiated. I mean, I'm in Chicago. There's lots of substantiated shit going on with the migrant thing every day. You don't have to pull this shit out of your ass about whether or not people are eating cats in the park. I mean, there's real stuff that and is of a much greater number and frequency than that sort of situation that's really going on, and you can report the facts of that. My disappointment is, why didn't Trump actually gather real facts about the migration issue, and how, in particular, if you want to create a wedge with black folks, he could have said that these people are in Chicago. You got homeless black people in Chicago, and they putting up migrants in old schools and shit. That's like real shit.
Yep.
I mean, well, this stuff is kind of real too, I guess. I mean, it's not substantiated, but you do have a lot of.
I'm saying that.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you being on.
I mean, you shouldn't. I mean, this shit just like came out. Like, I mean, it's interesting. It just came out less than a week before this debate. So that really kind of makes me wonder, well, you know, what was the real purpose of even presenting that? Is that legitimate, or is that something sort of stoked up to kind of add fuel to the fire leading into the debate? So
I think it's legitimate. I can put a couple links for you in the back chat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not. I just think that's the kind of thing, unless there's been a lot of real kind of research and reporting of it to present during the presidential debate.
In his defense, he probably did have some real research because remember, that is J.D. Vance's state.
A quick update.
Well, like I'm not going to belabor the point. Like I said, I think there are real and a lot of substantial information about the migrant thing that is much more serious, has been much more seriously covered and reported that he could have presented during this, and I think it would have held.
I mean, but let's be honest though.
It was the wrong time. It was the wrong time. It's some new shit that's going on.
Let's be
honest. They could have talked about the schools, the tent cities, the hotels.
As always, put out wild stuff out there. Can we be honest about that? Like Trump has always put kind of wild claims out there that could or could not be true.
Yeah, but all we're saying is he could have talked about the schools that they're living in, the hotels, the food stamp cards with $900 on them. He could have said all of that and compared it to the poor people instead of bringing up dogs.
But is that going to grab headlines? Is that going to grab the same headlines as the dog eating and the eating cats? I don't think that immigrants getting food stamps over natives is going to get the same attention as something as wild as
I think amongst black people, if you're trying to create a wedge issue, particularly in some of these toss-up states where you have migrants coming in, I think that's a much more credible issue in some of these swing states amongst many black people than whether some people are eating some damn cats somewhere.
To an extent, I do agree with Black Rule. That would drive more of a wedge because you got to remember some of these heifers that they like to be on food stamps, so that would drive.
I mean, TikTok they reporting people with EBT balances with $7,000 EBT balance.
Oh, more than that, like 15,000. I've heard
Mortgage loans, loans to open businesses with no credit, no background, no nothing.
I mean that to me will hold much more weight on the migrant issue than that stuff he's talking about. Much more.
Let's continue.
And she wouldn't be able to do her shit-eating grin, what she's doing right now, while he was saying it. She'd have to really respond to that.
The pets of the people that live there, and this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to.
I don't have the exact tapes, but there is tape out there of
and by the
people
way,
in City Hall talking about this. So, but go ahead. Whoever's speaking.
And by the way, J.D. Vance actually used this talking point before Trump. So I'm kind of thinking that Trump kind of got this from here because he actually
that makes
speaking
sense.
about
He's
this
from
days
Ohio.
before the debate. Yeah, exactly. So
that makes total sense. He's from Ohio and he probably has connections. What's going on, Julesy?
What's up, Jules?
Evening, gentlemen. How are y'all doing?
Hanging in there, man.
How the class is going?
Theo started a new batch, so it's I feel bad for him. You have no idea. I mean, oof. I'm doing good, but a lot, man. Theo is on a mission to save as many black men as he can, and they are making it as hard as they can because they can't follow fucking.
What topic is he? What topic is he covering now?
I say half of them can follow along, and they just need a little help. The other half just don't want to follow the written out step-by-step instructions. So, like, hey, you need to install VS Code, Zoom. AWS, set up an account, set up a Gmail account. And they're like, hey, I need a boutique service. Like, no. We're not doing this. We wrote out these very specific instructions.
Yeah,
You can follow them. But yeah,
are you guys using the internal command line? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, there's instructions to do the choco install or brew install.
Yeah.
But I say the best thing Theo did was, it might have been last class or the one before, he figured out there's tiers of guys who are not at a base level. Like there's so there's guys who are like AB, who they know this shit, right? They could take this class for 3 months and then get another job, get a couple certifications, get another job, and then be good to go. There's guys who are 6 months. There's guys who are like me, 1 year. There's guys who are 18 months, 2 years. And there's some guys that they might in a year get to help desk, be able to do, instead of making 40,000, they might make 60 to 85,000. And this is good, right? Make a jump, get a new skill, get into a new arena.
Nice.
Hey, Jews, in the words of BGS, trying to get niggas to follow direction is like herding cats. To paraphrase.
Yeah, I got to brush up on my VS Code. I do have a copy of it.
Yeah,
obviously.
but I mean, any IDE can work. But like the worst thing for me is when, like, I make it a point to say, look, you need to humble yourself and just like ask for help sometimes.
Yeah,
like, nobody knows it. Like Theo's been doing it for 20 years. He doesn't know this shit. He knows it very well. He's not perfect.
Right.
You need to meet some guys who are on your level.
That's the sign of a good programmer. I'm sorry.
Exactly. You're going to be in a team, going to code review and trying to figure this shit out. And there's been a number of guys who've been like, well, I've never asked for anything in my life. And it's like, yeah, I know. You're probably taught not to ask for anything in your life. And so you've probably never got any help. So just stop. Everybody is here to work with somebody, to help somebody. I mean, it's funny, but Theo's DMs are probably the closest thing a man has gotten outside of like an Instagram model.
We're gonna get back to this video, but man, Jules, if niggas knew how many white channels I watched just to get help with this shit.
Yes, yes. You're always looking for like, oh, that's how you. Oh, and then sometimes it'll be like some Indian dude.
My favorite play-by-play. My favorite play-by-play announcer is Jim Durham. I listened to him for 12 years, even when he left the Bulls and became the chief play-by-play guy at ESPN. God rest his soul.
Yeah,
Vince Scully, Jack, Brent fucking.
Before you hit play, AB, let me ask you a quick question.
Okay.
What topic are they on right now? What's the actual question right now?
Hold on, wait a minute.
If anybody knows,
city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people on
I'm taking it from
television
the city
say
manager.
Oh, the immigration.
Okay, I'm gonna just say really quick. The only other thing I really had a problem with Trump is that he kept going back to the immigration piece, even though we were on different questions. So, but okay, go ahead.
And that to Black Ruler's point, that may have been his way of trying to put that wedge in between her and the black voters, because I'm not making this up. To Black women's credit, they haven't backed down since this debate. They still don't like Kamala Harris. A lot of them have not backed down at all. They in fact, a lot of them are doubling down.
Well, I went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who
no one cares.
No, you
have
don't.
formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and
well, actually she does, but remember, she also has the endorsement of Dick Cheney.
Oh shit.
John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond.
Yeah, thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people, not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with that. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know the crime in Venezuela and crime in...
Just a side note, I heard a story that came out of, I think it was Queens. This knucklehead of a migrant kidnapped two teenagers and essayed one of them. Well, apparently he fucked around and found out because the locals there beat the shit out of him till the police came.
Damn. Just plain damn. Where was this again?
Somewhere in New York City. I think it was Queens, if I'm not mistaken. Queens or the Bronx. I forget which one. But he fucked around and found out. So they could keep playing around with this immigration issue if they want to.
Countries all over the world is way down. You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because...
Look at her body language. It's like, damn, right. I know she did do better than I thought she would do, but look at her body language right now. She's looking like...
Yeah, she definitely came prepared for this debate. So you kind of seeing her shine a little bit with her,
an emotional tampon helper up there on her solo to help her. That's what boosts her confidence. You feel good too. You had a teammate up there helping.
You definitely seen her, prosecutor, DA background come into play with the tag. Mm-hmm. Like she was just out. It feel like every round she was attacking Trump.
Made a fundamental error by not looking at her when he talked to her. Notice how she continued when she was very aggressive towards him and she looked at him.
Mm-hmm.
It gave her a greater sense of gravitas and power and credibility. Even if she was flat out lying, her looking at him and asserting it very forcefully gave her credibility. He refused to look at her. It makes him look scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say real quick, that's a good point, because if you notice, she actually looked really nervous at the beginning of the debate. And as the debate went on, she got a lot more comfortable over time.
Which was a very tactical error on his part, because he could have taken control at the beginning just based on what you said. He could have used her nervousness against him. This guy's a full foot taller than her. He's a full foot taller than her. He should have stepped to her ass when they walked out of there and showed how much bigger and more powerful he was just being as a physical presence. He didn't even do that.
Yeah, I mean, and look, when you get a chance, look at like the first 5 minutes. Because when I was first watching the debate, I was like, Like she almost looked like she had stage fright. You know what I
Yes, she
mean?
was
Like so
afraid.
it's like
She was
it's like
afraid, and he let her off the
the
hook.
lights were too bright.
He let her off the hook. He was so focused on doing his Trump thing that he didn't read her and read the room. I think a younger Trump, a fresher Trump, I think certainly a
Would have
90s or 2000 Trump, he mops up the floor with this woman. I think he showed his age during this debate.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt the same way actually.
They think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that
Let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most
Very true.
of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and
Gorilla Grip,
the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election.
President
They're
Trump,
fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about
And by the
extreme
way-
and understand the context.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I just was gonna say, by the way, today two charges against Trump just got thrown out in the state of Georgia earlier today. So,
oh, okay.
In which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting,
Can we talk
terminate
about that?
the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the
Yeah.
Can we all admit that Joe Biden is immune from everything because of that law?
I think a lot of people admitted that a long time ago, brother.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I mean, she's lying on him, and he's not looking at her. He's not looking at her and not calling her a liar. What president can cancel the fucking Constitution, for Christ's sake? That's an idiotic statement for her to make. And he let her get away with that scot-free.
She let her.
I think it might be part of his strategy not to look at her because he doesn't want the unhinged look. I could be wrong, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and if they do another debate, you might get your wish, Black Guru.
Black Guru, how you doing, man?
Hey, how you do, Snow?
You might actually get your wish if they do another debate. I can what you're talking about him doing to her. I can see that happening if they do another debate. Now the reporting is that he doesn't want to do another debate. I think he's bluffing, but okay.
She wants to do one, and I can understand why.
Yep. In answer to your question,
In answer
to your question, Uru, my wife has to spend most of the weekend with her mother.
Oh, well, that that might go.
So she asked me, "How many games are you doing this weekend?" And I told her I only planned on 3. She says, "Can you make some of them double headers?" And I told her I'll have to let you know, because she plays my YouTube channel for my niece, my nephew, my in-laws, to let them know what I'm doing, especially when it comes to the hometown Indianapolis Colts. I gotta tell y'all this funny story, and then I'm gonna be out of here. I gotta tell y'all this, and I gotta get out of here. Last year they were playing. The Colts were hosting the Titans, and my plan was to rest that game and then call the 49ers game. I forgot that my wife was in Kentucky with my mother-in-law. So in essence, my wife called me and said, "Help!" I said, baby, what? We can't find the Colts game on the radio. I said, that's easy. Search Colts Radio Network. Matt Taylor is on the call. Babe? Yes, honey. I'm with my mother. Oh, fuck. What's the score? 10-6. Colts at halftime. We need you to do the second half. You're on.
Oh.
So it's going to be that kind of. I'm going to be raising so much hell behind this microphone until Sunday night. Because the moment my wife walks in this door, I'm shutting this office down and I'm going to bed.
Well, rest up, brother. And, I guess drink a lot of water or whatever, keep your voice.
Yeah, stay hydrated.
We all know I have 4 bottles on my desk right now. They're all, and beginning tomorrow, they're all going to be full. Because I got a 7:00 football game and then a 9:30 baseball game because the Astros are out west this weekend.
All right, let's continue this.
My ass is going to.
Won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people to stop him.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized.
Harris, in your last run for
I really
president,
wish he had
wanted to ban
looked at
phone-
her when he said he took a bullet to the head. I really wish he had looked at her then.
Body language tells all, doesn't it, Uru?
Like I said, if they do another debate, you might get your wish. I think they may have not have done it because they didn't want them to come off as too sexist, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
At some point before you go, dude's gonna have to come up off that bullshit, man. I mean,
I know.
General, across the
right.
board, come off that bullshit. These women have been riding this I'm a dainty little girl stuff while they've been taking all of our lunch for about 60 years now. It's time to come off that bullshit. If you're gonna be up here on the stage, you're talking about being the commander and the chief of the United States military, and I'm supposed to be soft and cuddly with your ass just because you got a vagina? Fuck that.
Well,
Let me play devil's
borrow the
advocate
words.
for a minute, because I did hear a couple left-wing pundits talking about how, even some of the female demographic may be upset. They pointed out how Trump always had to have the last word, and I understand this. to a red pills person's ears, it's kind of cringe when you hear stuff like that. But I get that Trump is trying to get some of that female demographic. You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't know if that's the best strategy to kind of lay off. I don't know. Because I mean, look, it is going perception wise. I mean, she's a short black lady.
But here's the problem, fundamental tactical problem with that, right? Okay, so you lay off her, you make her look strong, and so those very women that you're describing, oh, she's strong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tactical look. Trump is never going to win over the soft and fuzzy females out there. Now, in an election against a woman, that ain't gonna happen.
Yep.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I'm starting to see what you're saying.
This was a strategic error. That's why if you go on the internet and you look at the conservative, you look at the Republican pundits that analyzes, to a man, they all say Trump fucked up.
Mm-hmm. One final update: Tua Tagovailoa out with a concussion in this game.
Of course.
Well, damn.
And I said it. I said it for the last 2 years. Is he fully back together from those
that is
three?
Not an NFL body.
Nope.
That is not an NFL quarterback body. It's not.
I said, will he fully recover from the 3 that he took in 14 weeks in 22? Hell, if you think about it, if you look at his motion, he hasn't really recovered from the hip injury he had at when he was at Alabama when they played South Carolina.
That's not an NFL. He does not have NFL durability.
No, he doesn't.
He's too small. He's too short. His arms too light. He's a great collegiate quarterback. He is not, in my view.
That's as far as his career went.
From a standpoint.
It's the same with Mac Jones. He's a great collegiate quarterback, but he's not an NFL quarterback at all. And he was ruled out, and I think he's going to be out a while.
And how much did they just give him?
Too damn much.
How much they did? How much money?
A grunion grip. They gave him a grunion grip, and now they're going to have to pay. Can somebody name me their backup? Don't worry, I'll wait.
The dumbest investment they could have made.
Exactly.
They have wrecked by that investment. I don't know how much of it is guaranteed, but I'm sure a good part of it is. You potentially wreck the prospects of that team for the next couple of years.
What team is this?
The
Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay.
I will say this sentence, and then I'm gonna get on out of here because I got a few projects to finish before my 6 games this weekend. The Dolphins are essentially fucked.
I know you liked Joe Mixon's game last week. I know you did.
Oh man, Joe Mixon's a motherfucker, and he's with the right team now.
Oh yeah.
Cincinnati was not the right team for him. Houston is.
We good. We good. We good.
Yeah.
Houston did exactly what they were supposed to do. Houston controlled the clock and everything. Let me get on out of here. AB, thanks for having me. Gentlemen, thanks for the chat. I appreciate you guys.
No problem, so man. Now I got about 49 watching. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the Cash App. Support the show. Hit the Super Chat. Support the show. Let's continue.
Buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then file bankruptcy 6 times
Right.
is a value that I bring to my work, to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on longstanding work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response.
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out.
At least you looked at
She
it,
went
then,
out
but okay.
in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400,
President
500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I asked, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
Pause for a
And
second,
understand,
AB?
the former president.
First of all, she lied about the fracking, like major lie. When during the 2020 primary, she emphatically asserted that she would ban fracking. Emphatically. Trump let her get away with that. But here's another thing I've noticed, and I've said this before, but you gotta understand, he is looking at them. She looks at him. He's looking at the whatever the fuck you call those people. She's looking at him, and she's looking at America. Watch her. See, when the very first televised presidential election was between
Nixon
and JFK.
JFK, yeah.
In 60. And it was, like I said, it was the very first televised, so it was this big monumental thing. The people, most of the people back then, a lot of people didn't have televisions in 1960, especially if you were rural, et cetera, whatever. So a good part of the country only heard it on the radio. And then other parts, maybe more urban, where you had the antenna towers,
right,
TV towers, they watched it. The polling from the radio said that Nixon killed Kennedy in that election.
But the people that watched the TV said that Kennedy won the debate.
But the people who saw it, Kennedy looked fresher. He looked younger. Nixon had like a 5 o'clock shadow going. He was sweating. That election was razor thin. And a lot of people credit Kennedy's winning that election to that debate. And so the reason why I keep harping on this debate and how, look, in every way, he helped to make this woman look like she was presidential. Everything he did, he helped her to do that. Everything. Prior to her coming into this, you didn't even think about her as being presidential. She came out of this looking like a damn boss. And he helped her do it. He helped her do it.
Okay, let's continue.
President has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election, there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed. Those people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus. Truth.
Yeah, it looked
in these
like
times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election,
it looks like she was trying hard not to react there. If you looked at some of her facial expressions. And again, that's probably one of the only issues I had with Trump during this debate is he kept bringing up the immigration thing. But I mean, you can tell that the moderators were biased towards Kamala. You know what I mean? Because there were times
that might be another reason why he didn't look at it directly because he saw what was going on. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot that's going on with this debate. So it's interesting, man. I had my popcorn.
This man's been a president.
Yeah.
If you're not being treated fairly by the moderators, you call the moderators out right there. This man's been the fucking president. You don't let the moderators punk you. You definitely don't let this broad punk you. And she flat out lied on him. Right there about that, because I remember the bloodbath. It was an economic thing. He was talking about some Chinese shit. It didn't have anything to do. She straight up race baited right there. That's what she did, and he should have called that out. Again, I think a younger, fresher Trump calls that out. But he's so on this. I think he's on like a script. I think he's on a script, and I think because he's older. And he's not as dynamic mentally as he used to be. He can't really engage her in a more fluid and organic way, which I think is part of the reason why he's not looking at her and he's not confronting her. She's confronting him. He's not confronting her. He's looking at the moderators. She's looking directly at him.
You repeatedly.
Yeah, I don't know because I think that
many times saying you won in a
being
landslide.
a Republican.
In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, "quote You lost by a whisker," that you quote didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
it.
You know that. It was said, "Oh, we lost by a whisker." That was said sarcastically. Look. There's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders. And we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm. Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases.
Pause for a second, AB. You asked about January 6th. Now you're asking about whether, I think you at a certain point say, look, the results were what they were. It was decided. We're trying to decide who's going to be president for 2024 and beyond. What's done is done. Mm-hmm. That's been decided. Now I've expressed in many ways what I think happened there, but in the end, things prevailed as they did. But we're having an election for the future.
Right.
And so to continue to bring up these issues about what happened 4 years ago, you know, it's not going to help the country. It's not going to help America to go forward. That's how you handle those kind of questions.
Yeah, to a degree, that's kind of what Trump says. It says here in a little bit.
Of many judges, many of them
No judge
Republican,
looked at it.
and said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you, we have so many facts and statistics. But you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as vice president of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom work with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate,
Hold on
and
one
deny
second.
what
She said that world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. So world leaders aren't laughing at Biden, a guy that doesn't even know where he is half the time.
Well, hey, you know, Trump let them get away with that scot.
That's
look,
that's what I meant earlier.
If I'm having
when I
a debate
said,
with this woman,
if I'm
half
Trump,
of what I'm talking about
hold
is
on 1 second. That's an example of what I was saying earlier about how Trump could have attacked her. That was one of those moments where he could have attacked her and said that exact statement right there. Go ahead.
Well, I think he really, on your point, but I'm gonna like quadruple, quintuple down on it. To me, this debate should be about whether or not this woman should even be on the stage with me, given what happened with Biden, given the fact that not a single solitary primary vote was cast by the American people on behalf of her 3 months before an election, and she's suddenly the nominee. That's going to be the through line from the beginning of my time on that panel until my closing statement, that this woman technically isn't supposed to be here, that they basically orchestrated a coup against the actual sitting president, Joseph Biden. You know, so I mean, to me, my objective is to totally delegitimize her presence on that panel, because I don't recall the last time this has happened, where there's been no primary vote cast and the person is nominated. And she's up there, and that doesn't come up at all during this debate. Almost a 2-hour debate, and nobody talks about the fact that this woman is in the position she's in the most unique way in the history of this country, since they've had a convention and primary process. And that didn't come up at all during this debate. And Trump let her get away with that.
over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election. It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And
well, he did mention it to a degree, but okay.
He mentioned it. I would have mentioned it through the whole debate. I would have mentioned Tulsi Gabbard eviscerating her in the 2020 to the point in which she ran out before a single vote was cast.
Actually, I might have an answer why he may not have done that, because it's my understanding that he donated to her district attorney campaigns, so that may have been a weak spot for him.
Well, I mean, what does that have to do with her running for president?
True.
You know, and again, she was in the primary, and when the first time she got some heat, she cut and ran. I would emphasize the point that incident with Tulsi Gabbard represents a fundamental part of her character. That when the going gets tough, she cuts and runs. And now you're going to make that mentality. You're going to make a person with that mentality president of the United States. You should be afraid to have somebody with that particular kind of disposition and response as the quote leader of the free world.
Now
I
she's
don't
running.
think.
I don't understand.
Let me just say real quick. I don't think that Trump had a bad debate performance. I just think it was less than, he usually has. Like he was a little bit under his normal performance level, right? And what I am even more surprised that he didn't attack and punch back at her more, considering that Tulsi Gabbard has been consulting with his campaign. And like Black Guru just said, she pretty much eviscerated her, some years ago.
Tulsi Gabbard is doing videos after videos, reading this woman for filth. I actually think he should have made Tulsi Gabbard his VP pick.
Now that would have been interesting, but guess what, Black Guru? I will be reading her ass for filth too if you put my ass on the terrorist watch list. God damn it!
Yeah, I mean, obviously for that, but I mean, the thing is, Gabbard seems to be expert in this woman's weaknesses at a detailed level, like at a historical level, and I think that kind of that level of detail is sorely missing here. He doesn't at all mention her locking up all the black folks and keeping folks on death row in California. No mentioning of that at all.
I just don't see. I don't see Trump really attacking her at all. I just see him kind of counter punching. I don't see him going at her like he went at Jeb Bush. You know what I mean? Or him going at Joe Biden. It's more like, okay, if she comes at him, he might throw a little counter punch, but he's not. You know what I mean? It's like a counter punch. He's not continuing to try to make those things land harder than he could. I don't understand why with that. So I don't know. You say it's because of age. I don't know.
I mean, he almost acted like he's afraid of her.
Okay.
But I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so,
which was debunked.
Absolutely. I said then, I say now. Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately. And the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis.
With Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential. From Vladimir Putin to defend their sovereignty, their democracy.
How far
and
are
it's in
we into
America's
the
best
debate?
interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened.
It's 149 minutes. We're at 112.
Okay.
To move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting with your fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right,
Negotiate a deal because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and
Translation, they wanted to put weapons on Russia's border, and Russia wasn't having it. Hence the reason Russia went to war with Ukraine.
territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries
Yeah, you wasted $250 billion.
together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And
To waste money on war.
because of our support, because of the
And you're right, Black Ruby. He should have said all of this, what I'm saying right now.
air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done
Which is draining our pockets.
to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish
Okay.
Americans right here in Pennsylvania?
If you're going to become president, please learn to pronounce Kiev please. This
Oh,
woman
gosh.
kept saying Kyiv. I'm like, what the hell is she talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here, to me, that was a terrible question in this regard. And it's a terrible question from the standpoint of what you just described, AB. And that is, this is American empire shit.
Yes.
And we're at the head of it. And asking Trump that question puts him in a bad position. Because you either tell the truth that we're in this war, and this war is a proxy war of the United States. And of course, you don't want to fucking say that,
Right.
being somebody who is a former president and attempting to try to be a future president. So what he tried to do was say, I just want to try to get it over, which I understand that. But she asserted the American empire thing. He gave the more responsible answer, but in the context of the question that was asked, it allowed her to appear to be stronger and more presidential than him, when he was actually asserting the more humane and appropriate response to the thing. So there are a lot of very biased questions here. A lot of very biased questions slanted against Trump. And again, I think a younger Trump would have been calling out those moderators, would have been calling out those questions.
Yeah.
How quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President.
You know, she really shouldn't talk about herself like that. I'm just saying.
President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier. And please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't have.
Me personally, I would have told you, would you shut up? But you know.
To talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that, something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she.
Actually, to go on Black Rue's point, if I was Trump here, I would also point out how she failed in Africa too.
Oh yeah, that Africa thing was horrible, horrible. They pretty much ran her out of there.
I'm sorry, I gotta say it. What is gay? That's so hilarious. That is so hilarious.
What is gay? What is gay?
You brought up Kamala in Africa. You brought up Kamala in Africa, man. You know how much heat I got when her ass came to Ghana?
Oh wow, really?
Wow,
man, my girlfriends was hot, bro. They was hot.
Plural. Your girlfriends, plural.
Well, they got mad about the women's rights and all that. They got mad about that.
No, she was selling that fudge packing stuff over there.
We know she was.
They was pissed off about the LBGT stuff. Like, why is she coming to our country and bringing this to our country? Why? They was hot, boy.
Oh boy,
I bet.
Yeah, them Africans got it right over that shit, though.
Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should.
Wait a minute. Did she answer the question as she met with Vladimir Putin, though?
Hold on, AB. Hold on.
You gonna say something? By the way, I got what is that number?
Yeah. I'm gonna say something. My bad. The daggone Amber Alert went off on my phone.
Yeah.
Same.
But okay, this question right here, when she said that Trump could have easily responded, "Yes, you met with Zelensky 5 times, and what happened after you met with him? He still got invaded by Russia." That would have been an easy attack for him to pound on.
Yeah,
that's true.
A younger Trump gets that.
True.
I think his age was exposed in this debate.
As a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander in chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine.
And you want us to elect somebody who has a 90% turnover rate with her staff? Is going to be that stable figure? Really?
Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk.
I would have mentioned that too.
About Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this
See,
debate.
you let a lot of stuff slide on this debate.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that. And
by the way, side note, the Gold Star families are ripping her and Joe Biden apart right now on Twitter because they didn't show up for that funeral. They were invited, but they didn't show up, but Donald Trump did.
endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world. The first time.
Damn, Snowman ain't here. Now that is some bullshit.
This century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite.
Believe it or not, Black Rude, I think this was a mistake from her because of the story he's about to tell.
And receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them.
This was a mistake. You're about to find out why.
To Camp David, because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 8
Translation. And one of his military advisors confirmed this. He pretty much said, if you don't stop killing our soldiers, I'm going to kill you. And then he handed a picture of the man's house with his children walking out. She should have never brought that up.
That was some spicy shit, bro.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how did what Trump do result in those 13 people being killed during Biden's presidency?
Yeah,
I don't see the connection.
I don't see the connection at
And
all.
Trump let her get away with that. He let her get away with that. Look, I was not commander in chief. I don't recall when that incident occurred, when that happened. Joseph Biden was the president of the United States when those 13 honorable service people were killed. You were vice president, Vice President Harris, when those good men and women were slain. I was not president. I was not in office then. You were. Every president, every vice president is responsible for the events that occur during his or her presidency and vice presidency. Do not blame me for the deaths of those 13 people that died under your watch. That's what you say in that kind of situation.
And actually, he does get to that in just a little bit here.
18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
and
on.
These people did the
Of
worst
course you do.
withdrawal.
Okay.
And in my opinion, the
Pause.
most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss were.
Okay.
He was making great statements. He should have been looking at her and pointing at her. I'm telling you, if he had looked at her and pointed at her while she said, I guarantee you she would have looked down. I guarantee you she would have looked away. I guarantee you. She would not have looked at him while she was made to bear the actual brunt of the failures of her and Biden's administration. But because he wasn't even looking at her, because he was looking at the damn moderators, she get to have this disgusted look on her face while he's talking, which gives the impression that he's lying when we know it's the truth. And again, that's the problem with how he conducted himself during this debate. Even when he had great points, they were not as effectively made as they could have been made had he provided the correct visual cues with them.
I see what you're saying.
Sir.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. I
And she still doesn't have to say she's black.
So much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was a land. He owned land. He owned buildings. And he was investigated because he refused to rent property to Black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of—
Hold on, wait a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't they all Black?
No, they're Puerto Rican
Wait,
blacks and Puerto
you
Ricans.
know, he so thoroughly fucked this up. This enrages me. This woman has used her proximity to Blackness to get to the position that she's in. And he's too fucking afraid to say it. That she's played both sides of the race thing. She's Indian when it's convenient. He should have said she's Black when it's convenient for her to be Black. She's Indian when it's convenient to be Indian for her. She's a woman when it's convenient for her to be a woman. That's what he should have said. This woman, you're in this position because you've been able to play this sort of mix and match of identity, you know, to elevate you to a position where you could become president. You never even won a primary. Not one. You leverage and use race more effectively than anybody else in history to get to where you are. And if we're talking about bad things that have been done to Black folks, what about all them Black folks you kept locked up in California past their sentencing? What about those Black folks? What about the Black folks you were locking up on marijuana charges while marijuana was being legalized, or kept locked up on the marijuana charges while marijuana was being legalized? What about those folks? What about the Black folks, the Black mothers you were locking up because the kids were truant to school? Since you're supposedly so concerned about the welfare, how did he let her get away with that? How in the fuck did he let her get away with that?
That's
the United
real
States.
spicy about that one.
And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do. I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person.
And I'll admit Trump made a mistake here. He should have pointed out the prosecutor that prosecuted those boys was a Democrat.
No, this is what you say. You look, I was a private citizen. I thought I was doing my civic duty, and it was mishandled by the law enforcement and the prosecuting office in the city of New York, in the state of New York. So it was not my doing. It was failure on the part of the prosecutor and law enforcement. But the decisions you made that hurt many, many more Black people than that, you did as an actual elected official. I was not an elected official during the Central Park 5. I was not an elected official, back in the 70s or whatever, where we were working through some issues involving leasing apartment buildings. I was a private citizen. I was a private business person. You were an elected official. You had the fiduciary responsibility for the people, the Black people in particular of California, and you failed thousands of them. That's how you handle that shit.
Okay.
that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman. She says, she is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Time's up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She
please.
has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President
Trump-
The
President
former
Trump-
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I just need
going to move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years
let
after
me
you
just
first
say
started
something real
running,
quick.
do you have a plan? And
I'm just gonna say another thing that I think that he probably should have did more of is actually put out some of the policy or some of the things that he wanted to do as president. I understand that he talked at it on the campaign trail and at the Republican National Convention, but I do think he should have talked more about what he wants to do as president, as opposed to I felt like he talked a lot more about the bad stuff that the Biden administration did, and he should have done that. But I do think he should have mixed in what he's going to do as well.
Well, I mean, how many questions did they even ask to solicit those kinds of answers?
True.
Well, what I would have did was what I would have advised as a strategy is like whenever he would talk about, okay, well, Biden did this with this particular issue, and this is how my administration is going to fix it. Instead of just saying, okay, well, Biden did this with inflation, da 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 da. I would have said, okay, Biden did this with inflation, and once we start pumping more oil in the United States, that's going to help with energy costs, which is how we're going to bring down inflation in the U.S. So I would have kind of did something like that, or advised him to do something like that. But go ahead.
And can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money, and be better healthcare than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices.
By the way, I got 55 watching. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the Cash App. Support the show. Hit the Super Chat. Support the show. Are you not entertained?
On behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Fastest
President
prologue
Harris,
in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made a
of
mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years, but it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what?
Thank you. To all the gentlemen that's up here. And the word is out now that been said about Biden for the last 2.5 years. Has anybody asked who really is running America right now?
Obama, Pelosi, and a few conservative Republicans, pretty much, and corporations.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Plutocrats
She's running as well. Kamala as well.
Well, I mean, she's running to be the puppet to their puppet masters. That essentially,
yeah. And no one's really asking that crucial question. So actually, these people have been watching and running this country secretly for the last 2 years.
Well, I don't think it's been that secret. I mean, I think most people knew that, Obama was still kind of running things. There was even weird sort of things where, public events where there was confusion about, who was running the event, and, Obama's no longer president. So I think most people know that Joe's been out of it for some time now, which makes all the more, which makes to me very suspicious how we got to the point in which this political coup was able to occur. Because what should have happened was Biden really should have stepped down once it was clear that dementia was setting in. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember, but I remember, they regularly talked about the health of the presidents. They would talk about the results of the physical exams of the presidents every year.
And that
They've said nothing about Biden's medical condition.
And there's a reason for
Nothing,
that.
nothing at all.
Because if people were alarmed, a lot of people.
Okay, Chaos. I want to get through with this.
What? We could do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump.
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Okay, because it's almost over.
Lord knows these people are draining.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans. and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they laugh. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
All right. But that was the aftermath.
I think he held back so nobody would call him a misogynist or
I think so too. I
anything
think that was
other
part of
like.
it. I know it's making poor Black Ruben pull his hair out, but I think that was part of it.
That's the only thing I really think.
Well, I think it's just it's bad. It's bad strategy, and as I said, I think the Republicans agree that it was bad strategy. If you're already a supervillain, you be the fucking supervillain.
Say lean
Why
into it. Huh?
Why do you not? You've already been perceived to be a bad guy. How are you benefiting from not? You think you're going to trick? Who is Trump going to trick into thinking he's something that he's not between now and November?
Nobody.
Yeah, my guy, you are the villain.
Yeah, and you're right. He does need to become the villain. Why not?
I mean, to me, the play was to make that woman appear as a fucking ingenue, as somebody who isn't even supposed to be there. And there's so much evidence that backs that point. Because again, the only chance this woman ever ran for president before they chased her out of the primary before the first vote was cast. I'm going to remind America of that. I'm going to say this Kamala Harris, this is propped up. We saw the real Kamala Harris 4 years ago when the going really got tough in a primary, at the beginning of a primary. That was the real, when she didn't have the backing of the presidency and the White House and the Democratic Party behind her, where she had to fight on an equal level to other Democrat contestants. They ran her out of there.
I remember that.
She folded. Yep.
So I mean, but we've forgotten all about that, right? Everybody's forgotten all about that. Or Trump has allowed everybody to forget all about that.
Or 5 years.
That this is not somebody Trump should be insulted being on the stage, which is one. Let's think about this for a second. Trump has won 3 primaries and has appeared in 2 presidential elections. One he won, one he lost. Between those primaries in those 2 presidential elections, he had to have had somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 to 300 million votes cast for him.
Yeah.
This woman has not had one fucking vote cast for her in a primary or at all. It was I would be insulted being on the stage with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I would let all of America know that. I don't give a fuck. If it makes me look evil, so be it. But I'm going to do everything possible to make her the incompetent that she is. Everything possible.
Mm-hmm.
And he let her off the hook. He fucking let her off the hook. Just like the late great Denny Green said, the Bears are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. God damn it!
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the late great Denny Green.
Yeah, I might have to. I might have to clip that because what you're saying is true.
And now she's so big and bad, walking around now. America, we owe America another debate. She prancing around now.
Hey, AB.
Meanwhile, he's scared. I don't think we should have another debate. I mean, that's just all. And here's the thing. And here's the great part. She don't even have to do another debate. All she has to do now is go around and do these little fluky interviews and refer back to how she whooped his ass in the debate. That's all. She can put it on cruise control.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna say that.
Can you pull the debate video back up real quick for like 30 seconds?
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I want to share screen.
And somebody said, look, there are a lot of black people that are onto her scheme.
I just want you to
and
show
a lot of black women
couple
onto her
minutes.
scheme. But here's
Like,
what
go to like the first couple minutes real quick.
I'm still waiting for her to say she's black. That's all I'm waiting for.
Donald Trump now up against a new opponent.
Go to like the first couple minutes, like a frame with Kamala in it.
News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice microphones will own the national.
Look at her. See, look at her. Look at her.
Kamala
Like a
Harris.
boss, she went right to him. See, man, come on, man.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking
Now
forward to a spirited and
let's
thoughtful
go
So
like
let's
a
get
couple
started.
minutes.
I want to
Fast
begin tonight
forward.
with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one 4 years ago.
I was raised as a middle class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage.
Now
who has a
look
plan
look
that is
at the
about lifting up
nervousness
the middle
on
class and
her
working
in the
people of
first
America.
couple minutes.
I believe in the ambition, the
Look at her.
aspirations, the
Just
dreams
pause
of
it
the
real
American
quick.
people.
Look at her
And that
facial
is why
expressions, bro. She looked like, what
Go
the hell
go
am I
back
doing
to
here?
before she started talking. You see it best
I
before she
imagine
even started
Were 4
talking.
years ago. When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
so. I was
What?
raised as a
I just wanted
You both here tonight.
I
Good
just
evening.
I
wanted
was
you to
We are
show.
raised.
looking to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get
Look,
started.
I just wanted y'all to see like the before and after
You can kind of tell the
of
grin. Like,
how
what the
she
fuck am I
looked.
doing?
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of tell. I see what you're saying, Black Room. You can tell with the grin. She's like,
I mean, to me, you've been president.
mm-hmm.
I'm owning that whole joint.
Issue that
I'm
voters
owning that
repeatedly say
whole
is their number
fucking.
one issue,
I'm
and that
I'm
is the
owning
economy and the
her.
cost of living
I'm
in this country.
owning
Vice
the
President Harris, you and
moderators.
President Trump were
I'm
elected 4
telling
years
them
ago,
what
and
to
your
do.
opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and
Bruh.
working people of America.
Yeah, bullshit. Okay, that's enough of that. Anything else you wanted to show?
No,
Yeah, I mean, he
just go
let
back.
her.
Just go back and look at how she looked when she first came into the debate. She was nervous, kind of stumbling over the words a little bit. And about the end of the debate, she had a whole confident aura about her. I just want people to go back for themselves and kind of look at that.
And go back to Trump's debates with Hillary Clinton. Totally different dude. But he was 8 years younger. Totally different dude. He worked Hillary Clinton like a cheap hoe in that 2016.
Black Guru.
He did.
I know.
Even had
Black Guru.
saying.
Black Guru is just how you say it, man.
He did though. It was a total. He had a whole different. But 8 years. There's a big difference. It's a big difference between 70 and 78.
Black Guru said he worked
I think I missed it though. I think I came in late, but Trump did have some good lines, and like I said, my favorite line when he said, "You know, Kamala, you might as well wear a MAGA hat because you taking all my damn policies." Basically, that was a good line. Even my my far left friends had to admit that one. Even they said they laughed at that one.
Well, but what that signals is her willingness to just flip flop and grab hold, like she was lying. She just flat out was lying about that fracking thing. Just flat out lying.
Yeah, she definitely was.
You can pull up
lying.
TikToks of her saying she was totally against. She would vote against fracking.
Yeah, I know that to be true.
I mean, I would, if I were him, I'd been calling her a liar through the whole thing. Well, you're lying about that. Well, that's a lie. You know, well, Vice President Harris, that's a lie. That is not what you said 4 years ago. That is not what you did 2 years ago or 6 years ago when you were in the Senate. That's a lie. Did he once even call her a liar? She called him a criminal, all kinds of shit. And looked in his face when she was calling him a criminal.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's very interesting about this election, and it's been going on since the the Democratic National Convention. It's like the Democrats have been on a constant attack against Trump. Normally, he's the one that's on the attack, so I don't know. It's kind of strange.
I think he's scared because she black or blackish or whatever the fuck. That's the only thing I can attribute this to. I don't think he let a white woman treat him like that.
I mean, even the other Democrats. I mean, the top people in the party, the Obamas, Joe Biden, all of these people were attacking Trump. Like I don't know. I've never seen that in a Democratic National Convention where they're literally 90%, 80 to 90% of their message is attacking. Yeah, it's attacking the Republican nominee. It was interesting.
Well, I mean, there's also in part to disguise the fact that they fucked up the last 4 years. Where are their wins?
Yeah.
Where's the Biden-Harris victories the last
Black Rule, what wins?
Exactly.
There are none.
There are none. So yeah, you demonize the other guy, which is something that if Trump was on his shit, he would have said, all this attention focus on me, all of the indictments and all this is to disguise the fact that they have failed the last 3.5 years. They failed the economy. They failed the country diplomatically. When I left office, there wasn't a war in Ukraine. When I left office, there wasn't people being murdered in Israel and Gaza. You know, I would double down on contrasting what happened during my administration versus what's happening now. It's some pretty clear distinctions. And they weren't really, he didn't really emphasize them in the debate. And like I said, I think it's because he's old.
Yeah, and I guess my final thoughts on it is, I mean, I don't think that Kamala wiped the floor with Trump, right? I think it was a situation where it was like, okay, she did better than I expected her to do, and he didn't do as good as I expected him to do. It's almost like if a big brother get into a fight with a little brother, you know what I mean? And it's like the older brother's kind of trying to take it easy on him. He's not really fighting him for real. You're like, oh, the little brother kind of hold his own. It's like one of those situations, in my opinion.
Yeah, before we get out of Black Room, have you seen this? This is our quote unquote, she finally put her quote unquote policies up. And build opportunity economically and lower costs for families. And I'm not going through all this shit, but just want you to notice something. Trump Project 2025 agenda, and they got these little pullouts. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. She got four little sections on Project 2025 on her policy site. And that goes to your point, where are the wins when you have to constantly mention Project 2025.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know that Project 2025, is one of them things that you don't really know who's or what have you. I know enough about how the government works to know that a lot of that shit people have been trying to do for generations.
Yep.
It has never been able to get through a damn Congress, much less be, signed by a president and reviewed by the Supreme Court or anything like that. So it's, their way, it's the extra thing to distract from their failures, which he should have emphasized. Project 2025 is a mythical creation to distract from the fact that the Biden-Harris administration has failed as a presidency. They failed. So they're pulling out all these things. They're trying to indict me, Project 2025. They're playing the racial games and all this to disguise the fact that they have failed.
Yep.
As a presidency. And he should have emphasized that point repeatedly. And like I say, I think he should have big time some of those questions that he got with those moderators. I think he should have called bullshit on some of those questions, because some of them questions were obviously biased against him, and they were like consecutive. And I think a younger Trump wouldn't have had that. I don't think he would have let that slide like that.
Yeah, I technically agree. Even though I'm on the left, I agree. I don't pretty much like what's going on. So
the biggest problem, I agree with Pan African that it wasn't so much in terms of a win of the detail, because she told a lot of lies. I mean, she told a lot of lies.
And that's coming out too. She told a whole lot of lies.
Narratives about unrelated shit that didn't have anything to do with the question. She did a whole lot of that. But the biggest problem, my biggest takeaway from the debate is he allowed her to look presidential. And for somebody who has not garnered a single fucking vote in a primary, that should have been, he should have done everything possible to let America know that she was illegitimate being on that stage. And he failed to do that.
Yeah. Very true.
So, well, thanks for having me up, AB. It was good to go over it. And
sure, thank you for your perspective, because
I mean, I don't, look, I'm still gonna vote for Trump, because to me it's like, what other choice do I have?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, I am not voting for, because to me, I don't give a fuck what she said during that debate. I know she just fucking flunky anyway.
But Black Ruru, hold on, wait a minute before you get out of here, Black Ruru. But Black Ruru, she's educated, she's intelligent. That's what I had somebody tell me today. I was
you know what I fear is going to happen? Ironically,
what
I think she could win. I think if she wins, it won't be because of black people.
It'd be because of white women.
I think white women, and that was my concern about making her look presidential. I think some white women are going to be impressed with how she dealt with Trump.
Man, let's really talk. How many times have I said that? I'm like, whatever white women do, just it don't matter. If 55% of white women come out for her, she wins.
Yeah.
If 55% of white women come out for Trump, it's automatic. They're the biggest voting bloc in America. As long as they get what they want, they don't give a damn.
Here's
Give a
the
damn
thing
about
that
nobody.
here's the thing that I think might happen, or I don't know if it's talked about, because I don't do a lot of deep dive in the political minutia. So maybe you do, AB. So maybe you know. I think there's one factor in this election that is not at least very publicly talked about, but I think it's there, and I think it may decide this election. And I would call it Trump fatigue. I think there's a percentage of white people who have some Trump fatigue. And it's not even about policy, and it may not even be, it's not even about Kamala. It's about, and she did a good job of repeatedly talking about turning the page and looking to the future. That was her attempting to appeal to those people who might be, look, we're tired of the Trump. We're tired of the Trump thing, right? We're just tired of it, whatever we thought about his presidency and whatever. I mean, let's be real. We've been talking about Trump since Obama was president.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think there's going to be some people who are saying, they might hold their nose and vote for Kamala just to get past this shit. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I think there's an undercurrent of that in this thing, and it could win the election for her.
Makes sense.
We'll see what happens. Do you think the VP debate is going to have any effect on what's coming up?
I think the VP debate. Well, it's interesting because I think there's some controversies around both of them to some degree. I think, though, there's more controversy that could around J.D. Vance that might negatively impact Trump. I think we talked about it before. I don't know if it was either on your channel or maybe it was on Art's channel, AB. I think J.D. Vance is that white dude, that kind of red pillish kind of white dude that a lot of white women don't like, And
Plus
think
his wife, Andy.
What's that?
Plus his wife's Andy.
That's a factor as well. So I think I don't know if it's enough necessarily to turn an election, but I don't know in hindsight whether J.D. Vance helps the candidacy. Like I said, he may have been better off having Tulsi Gabbard as his VP pick. I mean, she definitely would have helped to neutralize the shit out of Kamala.
I hear what you're saying, but Tim Walz putting tampons in the men's bathroom is not a good sign to white women, because that goes to the other thing that they're pissed off about, is men being in the women's bathroom.
See, again, I know that the fruitcake thing is definitely there. I don't know. Like I say, I think there's some Trump fatigue. I think there's some. I
don't think you're wrong about that.
I think, I mean, we can get a woman and that's the thing too. In 50 days, you might really have some women who might really be thinking, look, she might not be the woman that I would have wanted to be president, but we could get our first woman president. I can see that happening. And I can see some significant number of white women saying, let's get a woman president. I can see that happening. But I mean, I'm not saying I know that's going to happen, because obviously race is a factor as well. You could just have a lot of them say, well, yeah, of course she was lying. She was lying through the whole damn thing. She was lying. She was lying her ass off through that whole debate. and looking at him. And that's what I didn't like. She was looking at him while she was lying. I'll be damned if you look at me while you tell me a lie right to my face and me not call you a liar.
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know, like I say, she is what she thought she is, and he let her off. He let her go. He let, you know, I'd have been calling her a liar all night. I'd have been calling her a liar all night. A incompetent, inadequate liar. Either you don't know what you're doing, or you just didn't do shit one way or the other. That would have been the through line through my whole thing. Everything I'd have been highlighting, either she fucked this up or she wasn't there. I would have said for the first 2 years of the Biden presidency, nobody ever even saw you, Kamala. After you screwed up the border thing, they hid you. For 2 years, they hid you.
They did.
Regularly, you would hear and read in the press, where's VP Harris?
Before she got nominated, a lot of people forget, before she got nominated, she had a lower approval rating than Dick Cheney. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that also, you know, leads to a lot of questions about the validity of the polling, which we talked about as well. I think the polling has become a kind of witchcraft now they engage in, because it just ain't got no bearing on any logic, much of it, these days. So I don't know, but yeah, they were hiding her. They hid her through much of this presidency, while you had a pre-comatose president falling off of airplanes and shit,
falling off of bikes.
Yeah. You know, going in the wrong directions, walking in the bushes and shit in the, you know, the White House Rose Garden and shit. You know, so while you had a president obviously on the slide, they were hiding you, Vice President Harris. Where were you? But
well, I would say go ask Joe Brown, but I can't say that. I can't say the shit he said about her on the air. Good Lord.
You talking about Joe Brown? Well, look,
Judge know a little too much.
She is a known quantity in California, and not in the best way. It's so many things on her going all the way back. You could have easily, but like I said, for some reason they act like they're afraid of her.
Black Ruby, I get it though, man. I try to tell brothers, look, I've talked to brothers from California. I haven't heard a brother from California say a good thing about her. So all this praise about she's a diligent here. I was like, okay.
No, I mean, look, because obviously in California, a prosecutor, you know, how you know, positive that's going to be for Black people, especially Black men in California. And then the fact that she was breaking the rules to punish Black men more, even beyond their own citizens, and even locking up women, Black mothers, because their kids were not going to school and shit. I mean, and to have a debate where this chick pulled out some shit he did back in the 70s. She pulled out some shit he did back in the 70s.
Yep.
When he wasn't even anywhere near a political office, and he just let her get away. And I'd have been through all her California shit. Hell, I would have brought up Willie Brown. You know, I would have said I would have hinted at, and you didn't have to be too direct about it, but you could have hinted at the fact that she had been kind of, you know, elevated by way of means other than her own competency level and performance.
I hear what you're saying, Leon. It may not have worked in that debate, but if he's on Fox News, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I get it. But my thing, I think that's more harmful than good if you bring up someone's possible sexual past, and then it's sitting there like in Willie Brown that says, no, she was just a great worker. That's why I'm still with my wife. But you know, Willie Brown's the most powerful Black guy.
I would use associations, and I mean, because there's also talk about her Judge Brown reference to her involvement in some ghost payrolling scheme where she was getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for a gig she didn't even show up on for something that Willie Brown had cooked up for her. So it ain't just them fucking that she was scheming on. She was scheming money out of jobs or some consultation gigs that Willie Brown set up for her as well. So I mean, look, if you're gonna bring up my being a slumlord or whatever the hell she alluded to, I'm gonna bring up your ghost payroll and shit. I'm gonna fight fire with fire on your ass.
Who knows if Trump does a second debate? Don't put it past him, because remember what he did to Hillary Clinton. Don't put it past him if he brings some.
Dude,
of her,
you got 50 days. I mean, what are you waiting for? Christmas?
But no, remember when Hillary tried to get him? He bought in all of Bill Clinton's mistresses. So I wouldn't put it past Trump to bring some of the people that Kamala Harris prosecuted to the debate if they have a live audience. If they have an audience, that's the other question.
She is not going to do a live. Well, I'm iffy on whether she does another debate. Period. I think what they're going to do is try to see just how much steam they're able to garner and maintain from this debate, and see if they could just leverage off of it into November.
That makes sense.
Because she still has the danger of not having an actual fucking record of anything, and that possibly being exposed in another debate, assuming Trump is better prepared for that particular encounter.
Yeah, before we get out here, I do agree with BGS on one thing. Because of this debate, she can't hide in the basement anymore. She has to do some real interviews, and not the kind of softball interview we saw on CNN. She can't hide in the basement anymore. I know they're gonna try, but
Well, who's gonna make her? Who's gonna do legitimate debate? I mean, that was ABC. Obviously, ABC is on her side. I mean, ABC is basically playing with her joint, frankly. I mean, they're not even hiding. So obviously, ABC is in the bag. NBC likely is in the bag. You got MSNBC, so the NBC is likely in the bag for her. Probably CBS as well. I don't know. So where is she going to get? Where and she's probably going to avoid Fox like the plague. She probably doesn't have the guts or the cojones to go.
Sassy.
I don't got to.
Yeah, Sassy Rollins already did. B, she don't need a debate on Fox. B. I'm like, she can't be a coward like you, Roland. I'm just saying.
Roland Martin's done. Can I say one thing? I was right about Candace Owens. She's gone. She's done. She's done. She's really fucked up.
What? Because they kicked off of YouTube or whatever?
Oh yeah, she's done. I'm actually happy about that one. Just to say.
But yeah. Shout out to Shannon Sharp. That's all I got to say about that.
Shannon Sharp just playing with folks now.
You think he's playing? Think he's trolling?
Well, I mean, right after that, he started doing promos for
adult content,
virility pills and shit. So he just,
but I
just styles on motherfuckers now.
Oh yeah. He
I do agree with you. However, Roland is cooked. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He said it was the algorithm that did it. I said, nah, boy, that's what you like.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
He admit that that's not a flaw. He admitted that he didn't know what he was doing. It was an accident on his part, so he already took responsibility for that. Shannon.
Oh.
So he was looking at naked booties.
So anybody keep talking about it, stop it, because he knew it was not no flaw, no hack. The PR wanted him to lie about it, but he said on his No Jumper or wherever podcast, he said that his old parents told him, say you got man up to your flaws, and he did that. And ESPN is not going to fire him. I'm not sure where people get that rumor from. They're They probably might suspend, but they're not gonna let him go.
You talking about Roland Martin here, or
I'm talking about Shannon Sharp.
Shannon Sharp is carrying ESPN.
Yeah.
No way hell he gonna fire him.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why people putting that stupid
No. I was talking about Roland, man. And man, don't nobody care about Shannon Sharp getting some.
Listen. Roland Martin is a pogey man. End of story. He only sent the Democrat Party as long as because he's the little funny dude that then they keep around just to ward off the the straight black man.
Hey, Black Group, I just got one question before we really get out of here. Would you vote for a man that wore a T-shirt that said this?
Let me see. Hold on.
Oh shit! Hell no.
Wait.
Oh. Is that an actual thing that people wear?
No, that's something Roland. No, that's something Roland Martin wore on the show. I was like, oh hell no.
But hey, listen, he has to do this because he is the bitch of the Democrat Party. You're gonna do as I tell you, or you're done.
No, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, he's that perpetual guy we knew in high school who was kind of
sweet,
visually impaired, or it's necessary to do everything possible to pander to women, and maybe they might let him smell their panties or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Y'all think he a penny smeller?
Some dudes have to be panty smellers.
Hey,
some dudes, man, they have to smell panties.
Hey, Black Guru, my one just got off work. Hey, baby, am I a penny smeller? Am I a penny smeller?
Oh my gosh.
Hey, baby, am I a penny smeller?
That's one of them where
Hello?
It's like if you.
No, am I a penny smeller? Oh, she's lying. She's lying. She's lying.
Tell the truth, Miss Leon. Tell the truth.
Okay, what happened was like I like irritating.
Oh my gosh! Here we go.
I like irritating and just saying like, oh, then you need to ask me.
Oh no, not you.
I don't do it for my
penny sniffing club.
Black Guru. Okay. I don't do it for my own express pleasure. I just do it as a
What you say is a spousal duty? Is that what you said?
No, it's more like being nasty. You must sit alone.
All right, it's really time to get out of here now. I'd like to thank everybody. Man, I'd like to thank everybody that came through. This is AB Media 83, and Lord, I'm out. Yo, this is AB Media 83. Want to support the channel? Hit the Cash App. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the video. Also, be sure to hit that bell notification so you can be notified next time I upload a live stream or video. And always remember, keep it grinding, keep it pushing, keep it moving. This is AB Media 83, and I'm out. Peace.